What would you do if someone broke your child's arm? How far would you go to protect your family and get justice when a power-drunk HOA president crossed the line with my disabled daughter? She had no idea who she was really messing with, or the storm that would follow. This is a story about how far a parent will go to protect their child, and how karma finally caught up with a bully who thought she was untouchable. My name is Dominic Vasquez, and for most of my neighbors at Evergreen Estates, I was just another single dad trying to provide a stable home for my disabled daughter. Behind my unassuming appearance, casual button-downs, and dad jeans, I'm actually a senior FBI agent specializing in financial crime. 15 years with the Bureau has taught me how to investigate build cases and, most importantly, how to be patient when hunting predators. And believe me, predators come in all forms, including perfectly coiffed HOA presidents who drive luxury SUVs and wear designer outfits to community meetings. Our story begins 3 years after my wife Carmen's death from cancer. After losing her, I requested a transfer from the Chicago field office to Arizona, hoping the warm climate would be better for our daughter. Izzy's medical condition. Isabel Izzy, to everyone who knows her, has a mild form of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. At 11 years old, she struggles with mobility, tiring easily, and occasionally using a lightweight wheelchair for longer distances. Despite her physical challenges, she's a bright, joyful child who inherited her mother's infectious smile and my stubborn determination. The most important member of our little family is Max, Izzy's service dog, a gentle golden retriever trained specifically to help with mobility support, picking up dropped items and providing emotional comfort for a girl who lost her mother. Too young. Max is more than a pet. He's medically necessary equipment, prescribed by Izzy's specialists and protected under federal law. We moved to Evergreen Estates in Paradise Valley, Arizona, because of its excellent schools and accessible single-level homes. The upscale community seemed perfect. Wide sidewalks, proximity to Izzy's specialists, and a community pool with a lift chair. What the real estate agent conveniently omitted was the iron-fisted rule of the HOA president, Meredith Harrington. Meredith was in her early 50s with a perfect platinum blonde bob that looked like it could survive a hurricane, a perpetual country club tan, and the cold, calculating eyes of someone who enjoyed wielding power over others. As a former banking executive who'd retired early under circumstance nobody discussed openly, she now channeled all her controlling energy into running Evergreen Estates like her personal thief. Our troubles began exactly 17 days after moving in, when Meredith marched up our driveway. As Izzy was working with Max in our front yard, I was inside, unpacking boxes in my home office, still setting up the secure connection to the Bureau's databases. "Excuse me," I heard a sharp voice outside my window. "Dogs are explicitly forbidden in Evergreen Estates. Didn't your realtor provide you with the covenant documents?" I stepped outside to find Meredith standing over my daughter, who was clinging to Max's harness, her face already crumpling with anxiety. "Hi there," I said, extending my hand. "I'm Dominic Vasquez. We just moved in." Meredith ignored my outstretched hand instead, thrusting a binder toward me. Section 12, Paragraph 4. No pets of any kind are permitted within Evergreen Estates properties or common areas that includes dog. "Mr. Vasquez, actually," I explained calmly, "Max isn't a pet. He's a service animal for my daughter's medical condition. He's protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act, which supersede HOA regulation." Meredith's expression hardened. Everyone tries to claim their pets are service animals these days. "We've had this issue before. I'll need to see certification papers and medical documentation by tomorrow, or there will be a $500 fine to start increasing by $100 daily." Izzy's small voice interrupted. "Max helps me when I fall. He picks things up when I can't bend down." Meredith barely glanced at her. "Rules are rules, young lady. This is a premium community, not a petting zoo. If you're watching from Arizona or any state with strict HOAs, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to join our community of people fighting back against HOA injustice over the next several weeks. Despite providing all required documentation, including letters from Izzy's neurologist and physical therapists. We received citation after citation, first for animal waste that wasn't even from our dog. Max was trained to relieve himself only in a specific area of our backyard. Then for excessive noise, though Max was one of the quietest, best-trained dogs I'd ever seen then, for having Max's support harness visible in our garage when the door was open. Each citation came with increasing fine, all of which I documented meticulously. While appealing through proper channels, my FBI training had taught me to build a case methodically, and I sensed one might be necessary. Here, she's targeting, you said, our neighbor, Jasmine Franklin, a corporate attorney who lived 2 doors down. Jasmine had quickly become our ally, often inviting Izzy over when I had late work calls. Meredith does this to someone new. Every year last year, it was the elderly couple on Saguaro Drive who installed a wheelchair ramp without proper approval. Before that, it was the Indian family who had relatives stay too long after a funeral. Why doesn't anyone stop her? I asked Jasmine. Shrugged fear. She's got connections with the city council, and she's not above making people's lives miserable. Most folks just eventually cave or move. Nobody wants the hassle. I wasn't most folks, but I kept my profession vague in the neighborhood. Most neighbors thought I worked in government compliance, technically true, but deliberately underselling what I actually did in my line of work. Maintaining a low profile is second nature, especially when investigating money launderers and financial criminals who wouldn't hesitate to target an agent's family. The situation came to a head on a Tuesday afternoon. In October, Arizona's unforgiving summer heat had finally broken, and Izzy was doing her physical therapy exercises in our front courtyard with Max, while I was on a classified video call with my team about a potential money laundering operation through desert property developments. Jasmine had offered to keep an eye on Izzy from her front porch across the street while she worked on legal briefs. I was deep in discussion about suspicious wire transfers when I heard shouting, followed by a scream that turned my blood to ice, my daughter's scream of pain. I immediately ended the call and ran outside to find a scene that still fuels my nightmares. Izzy was on the ground, cradling her arm against her chest, her face contorted in agony. Max was barking frantically, circling her protectively, and standing over them both was Meredith Harrington holding a dog-catching pole, the kind animal control officers use, with a look of righteous indignation on her face. What happened? I demanded, rushing to Izzy's side. Her arm was already swelling, hanging at an unnatural angle that told me immediately it was broken. This monster attacked your daughter. Jasmine was already there, her phone in hand. I recorded everything after she showed up with that pole. She tried to capture the dog, and when Izzy protected him, Meredith yanked her arm. He was off-leash in a common area. Meredith declared, as if that justified assaulting a child. I was enforcing HOA regulations. After multiple warnings, I've called animal control to remove the dog. Through tears and gasping breaths, Izzy explained that Meredith had appeared with the catching pole, attempting to loop it around Max's neck, when Izzy stepped between them, holding Max's harness. Meredith had grabbed her arm and yanked her away with enough force to snap the bone. You broke my daughter's arm over a service dog. My voice was deadly quiet, the tone my colleagues recognize as Dominic, about to bring down hell. I barely touched her. Meredith sniffed, adjusting her Gucci sunglasses. If her arm broke that easily, it's because of her condition. Perhaps you should be more careful about letting a disabled child play unsupervised, rather than blaming others for her fragility. Something in me snapped, not in a rage-filled, out-of-control way, but in the cold, calculating manner I approached the most dangerous suspect. In that moment, Meredith Harrington became a target for investigation, not just an annoying HOA president. Jasmine, would you mind taking Izzy to the emergency room? I need to make some calls. As Jasmine helped my whimpering daughter into her car, I pulled out my phone and called 911, never breaking eye contact with Meredith. Then I texted my FBI partner with a simple message: need background check on Meredith Harrington, Evergreen Estates, HOA priority, you're calling the police. For this, Meredith laughed incredulously. Do you know who my husband plays golf with, the police captain and 2 city councilmen? This will go nowhere. I remained silent, simply waiting for the dispatcher to answer, when I gave our address and reported assault on a disabled minor. Meredith's smug expression began to waver when I mentioned that we had video evidence. Her face drained of color beneath her perfect tan officer. Rivera arrived within minutes. He'd worked with me on a fraud case involving elderly victims the previous year. Though I doubted Meredith knew that connection, sir, he said professionally, giving no indication he recognized me from our previous work. Can you tell me what happened here? I gave a concise statement while he reviewed Jasmine's video, which clearly showed Meredith yanking my daughter's arm with enough force to break it when Izzy refused to let go of Max's harness. Ma'am, I need you to put down that pole and place your hands behind your back, Rivera said calmly. This is absurd, Meredith sputtered, dropping the pole as if suddenly realizing how it looked. Do you know who I am? My husband is partners with Judge Holloway. I was enforcing community regulations that this family has repeatedly violated. Ma'am, enforcing HOA rules doesn't give you the right to assault a child, Rivera replied, unmoved. You have the right to remain silent. As Rivera secured Meredith in handcuffs, I retrieved my FBI credentials from inside the house and discreetly showed them to him. I'd appreciate if this could be handled by the book, I said, quietly. Full documentation, proper evidence collection, all protocols followed. My position is irrelevant to the assault case, but I want to ensure there are no procedural gaps that could be exploited. Rivera nodded, understanding my meaning. Got it. We'll do this right. Meredith, catching a glimpse of my credentials as I returned them to my pocket, went pale. Your FBI Special Agent, Dominic Vasquez, Financial Crimes Division, I confirmed, allowing the smallest smile. And you just assaulted the daughter of someone who builds cases against criminals for a living. What followed was a whirlwind of activity that transformed our quiet suburban dispute into something much bigger than anyone could have anticipated. I joined Izzy at the hospital, where X-rays confirmed a clean break to her radius. As doctors set her arm in a cast purple her choice, I received a text from my partner at the bureau. Harrington flagged in database financial irregularities at First Arizona Trust before retirement case shelved due to political pressure. Details incoming. Meanwhile, Jasmine's video of the assault hit social media, then local news, then national outlets. HOA president breaks disabled child's arm over service dog made for a compelling headline. By morning, our driveway had news vans parked across the street, and Meredith's bail hearing was being covered live. But the real bombshell came during the investigation that followed. Once I had probable cause to look into Meredith's finance, assault on my daughter certainly qualified. Interesting patterns emerged. The HOA funds showed inconsistencies that my trained eye immediately recognized: fines collected, but never deposited, vendor contracts with inflated prices and kickbacks, administrative fees transferred to offshore accounts within 3 days. What had started as a simple assault case blossomed into a full-fledged financial crimes investigation. It turned out that Meredith hadn't retired early from her banking position. She'd been quietly forced out after suspicious transactions were discovered, but her husband's connections had kept it from becoming a criminal case. More importantly, the HOA of Evergreen Estates had become her personal laundering operation, collecting excessive fines, manipulating property values, and skimming from community funds were just the beginning. She had been using the HOA's reserve fund to invest in her husband's questionable real estate ventures, many of which appeared to be shells for washing money from less than reputable sources. Detective Marshall called me 5 days after the incident, as Izzy was adjusting to her cast, and the media frenzy was beginning to die down. Agent Vasquez, we've uncovered some concerning information about Ms. Harrington that extends beyond the assault. He began carefully. I believe this might interest your division at the Bureau. It certainly did. What followed was a joint FBI local police investigation that revealed Meredith and her husband had been running a sophisticated money laundering operation for nearly a decade. The HOA was just one component of a scheme that included fake businesses, inflated property deals, and connections to several known criminal organizations. The emergency HOA meeting the following weekend was unlike any in Evergreen Estates history held in our community center. It was standing room only with residents who had suffered under Meredith's reign, finally finding their courage to speak the elderly couple who'd been fined into moving. Because of their wheelchair ramp, the single mother charged exorbitant fees because her children played too loudly. The Muslim family harassed about cooking odors from traditional food. Each story painted a clear picture of targeted harassment, particularly against minority, elderly residents, and families with special needs. She told me my daughter's adaptive bicycle was an eyesore and had to be kept out of sight. One father said, voice shaking with anger, "We've been getting fined $100 a day for 3 months because my child with Down syndrome needs that bike for therapy." By unanimous vote, Meredith was removed as HOA president, with Jasmine elected as interim president until formal elections could be held. The board voted immediately to amend the community guidelines, explicitly allowing service animals and reasonable accommodations for disabilities. But Meredith's problems extended far beyond losing her position. The criminal case proceeded on 2 tracks: the assault charges and the much larger financial crimes investigation. Her expensive lawyer, the kind that charges $1,000 an hour to make problems disappear, tried to plead down the assault, claiming it was an accident and a misunderstanding about a dangerous animal. The district attorney wasn't having it. Your client deliberately assaulted a disabled child, breaking her arm in an attempt to seize a service animal protected by federal law, she stated bluntly. During the preliminary hearing, we have clear video evidence, multiple witnesses, and medical reports confirming the injury. This is felony assault with special circumstances due to the victim's disability status. Meanwhile, the financial investigation uncovered a web of corruption that stretched back years and implicated several prominent community figures. Meredith hadn't just been stealing from the HOA, she'd been using her connections to facilitate money laundering for some very dangerous people, including a drug cartel with ties to Arizona's construction industry. Her husband, upon realizing the extent of the investigation, quickly turned state's evidence in exchange for a reduced sentence. His betrayal seemed to break something in Meredith's carefully controlled facade. In court, she transformed from the polished, confident HOA president into a sting, bitter woman who finally showed her true colors. "Those people don't belong in our community anyway," she shouted during one particularly tense hearing, referring to families with special needs. "We built Evergreen to be exclusive. Exclusive not for damaged children and their dogs making a mess of everything." Her outburst did her no favors with the jury or the judge after a 2-week trial that made national headlines. Meredith was found guilty on all counts: assault on a minor, financial fraud, money laundering, racketeering, and conspiracy. The judge, reviewing both the assault case and the financial crimes evidence, showed no mercy during sentencing. "Miss Harrington, you've used your position of power to victimize the vulnerable, steal from your community, and facilitate criminal enterprise. Most disturbing is your willful assault on a disabled child over a service animal legally protected by federal statute. Your actions reveal not just criminal intent, but a disturbing lack of basic human compassion. 15 years in federal prison for the financial crime, 5 additional years for the assault on Izzy, to be served consecutively, forfeit of assets valued at over $3 million, and a court order never to serve in any fiduciary capacity or community leadership position again. But karma wasn't finished with Meredith Harrington. Yet the IRS, alerted by our investigation, launched their own audit and discovered years of tax evasion. The State Real Estate Board revoked her broker's license permanently. Her country club membership, that all-important social status symbol, was revoked. Former friends and associates scattered like cockroaches when exposed to light, all claiming they'd had no idea about her terrible behavior. She had to forfeit her showcase home, a 7,000-square-foot desert paradise with infinity pool and mountain views, as part of her asset forfeit. The federal government eventually sold it at auction, and in an ironic twist, it was purchased by a foundation that converted it into a training center for service dogs for disabled children. As for us, Izzy's broken arm healed stronger than before. The trauma of the the attack faded, helped by therapy and the overwhelming community support that emerged. Once Meredith's reign of terror ended, Max became something of a local celebrity, with children often asking to pet him, always with permission. And only when he wasn't working, the most unexpected development came from the FBI itself. Our Youth Leadership Academy, which introduces teenagers to careers in law enforcement, invited Izzy to be a special speaker about service animals and disability rights. Despite her natural shyness, she stood before a room of cadets and agents, her purple cast still on her arm, and spoke eloquently about Max and the importance of understanding disability accommodation. Just because someone looks different or needs help doesn't mean they don't belong. She told them, her voice clear and confident. My dad says justice is for everyone, not just people who can climb stairs or run fast beside me. My supervisor whispered, she's got your backbone. Vasquez future agent material for sure. 3 months after Meredith's sentencing, a letter arrived at our home from the federal women's prison, where she was serving her time. Mr. Vasquez, it read in tight, controlled handwriting, I am writing at my attorney's suggestion to express remorse for my actions toward your daughter. While I maintain that many circumstances were exaggerated, I acknowledge that I should have handled the situation differently. Prison has given me time to reflect on my choices. I hope you will consider informing the parole board of my apology. When the time comes, regards Meredith Harrington. Not a word of genuine remorse, not even addressing Izzy by name. Just another calculated move to improve her position. Izzy, reading the letter over my shoulder, was quiet for a moment. She still doesn't get it. Does she, Dad? No, sweetheart? I don't think she does. Should we write back? I considered it. What would you want to say? She thought carefully, then dictated while I typed. Dear M. Harrington, thank you for your letter. I hope prison gives you time to think about why rules exist, not to hurt people, but to protect them. Max sends a woof hello. He's still helping me every day. The doctors say my arm is stronger now, where it healed. Sometimes broken things come back stronger. I hope that happens for you too. Sincerely, Isabel Vasquez. Her capacity for compassion continually amazes me. Perhaps that's the silver lining in this dark cloud, seeing my daughter's strength shine through adversity. I still work for the FBI, still investigating financial crimes and bringing white-collar criminals to justice. But now I also serve on a task force examining HOA abuses nationwide, particularly those targeting protected classes like the disabled, elderly, and minorities. My colleagues joke that I took down a money laundering operation by having my arm broken. Technically, my daughter's arm. But the point stands. Evergreen Estates has transformed under Jasmine's leadership as HOA president. The community newsletter now regularly features stories about residents celebrating our diversity rather than enforcing conformity. The no pets rule has been replaced with reasonable guidelines that explicitly exempt service animals and emotional support animals with proper documentation. The community even hosts a Service Animal Awareness Day where organizations bring dogs in training to meet residents and educate people about their vital work. 6 months after her fall, Izzy completed physical therapy, her arm fully healed. To celebrate, she asked to use some of the victim compensation money she'd received to donate to the Service Dog Training Center that now operates from Meredith's former home. Dad, she said as we toured the facility, watching puppies learn commands that would one day help children like her. Do you think what happened was meant to be? If Meredith hadn't been so mean, all these dogs might not be getting trained. I considered her question carefully. I don't think bad things happen for a reason, sweetheart, but I think good people can take bad situations and create meaning from them. That's what you've done, turned your pain into something positive for others. She nodded thoughtfully, then smiled as a puppy licked her hand. I'm glad we didn't move away when things got hard. Standing up to bullies is important. From the mouths of babes comes wisdom that adults spend lifetimes trying to learn. To those watching who face discrimination, bullying, or abuse of power, whether from HOAs or anywhere else, remember this document. Everything, record what you legally can. Know your rights, especially regarding disabilities and accommodation. Build alliances with neighbors and community members, and never ever assume that someone won't fight back just because they seem vulnerable. As for HOA board members watching this, let Meredith's fate be a lesson. Your job is to build community, not establish a personal kingdom. Rules should protect residents, not punish differences. And remember that quiet neighbor you're harassing might just have the skills and resources to expose everything you've been hiding. If you believe in justice and love seeing HOA Karens get what they deserve, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, HOA Revenge. We post gripping real-life HOA dramas every day that you won't want to miss. Your support keeps us going. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next story. Before I sign off, I want to share one final image with you. Last weekend, Evergreen Estates held its first annual service, Dog Appreciation Day. The event was Izzy's idea, a community fair where service dog organizations could showcase their work and educate the public. As I watched my daughter leading Max through a demonstration for a group of fascinated children, explaining how he helps her with daily tasks, I couldn't help but reflect on our journey. A year ago, she was in a cast, traumatized by violence. Today, she stood tall with Max's steady support, confidently educating others about disability rights. This is Max. I overheard her telling a wide-eyed little boy, "He's not just my dog, he's my helper and my friend. The law protects him because he's working just like how your dad's tools are protected at his construction site." The boy nodded solemnly. "My grandma has a helper dog, too. Someone at the store told her she couldn't bring him in, but my mom showed them the law." "Good for your mom," Izzy replied with a smile. "Sometimes we have to teach grown-ups the rules out of the darkest moments. Sometimes come the brightest lights, a community healed, a child empowered, and justice sweet. Complete justice served with the full force of federal law." This is Special Agent Dominic Vasquez, signing off from Evergreen Estates, where service dogs are welcome, children are valued regardless of ability, and the long arm of the law reaches even into the most exclusive gated communities